You're watching It's Life Live with your hosts, Juan Lee and Oliver Marcell. Come join us for enriching, enlightening, encouraging, and thought-provoking conversation. Let's go. What's happening?
Hey, what's happening, Oliver? This is a great day.
It is a great day. Weather was fantastic. Was able to get outside for a second. Not like yesterday, man. Yesterday, I won't get into the specifics, but I needed some time yesterday. Let's just put it that way. I needed some time today too, but I actually was able to take some yesterday. Went outside, man, in the back and just sat in one of the patio chairs, and the sky was blue. You know, the green of the trees, the green of the grass, the sounds of the birds, the car sound, just the outdoor sounds, period, man. And the breeze and the weather was just, sometimes you need that.
Hey, it says that you ain't got no allergies first.
So they're not terrible. In the beginning of the season, I kind of get hit. And today was a little bit worse in terms of pollen in the air than yesterday. But yeah, sometimes, man, you just need it. So hey, it's all good. I don't even know where I was going with that, but I guess it needed to be said. Somebody out there must need some time, so take it. There you go.
Hey, because you said that, I was like, that sounds like me on a bicycle, man. Mm-hmm. And I haven't had a chance to get a long ride in. I like to just get on my bike and go for a ride.
Yeah.
And I haven't had it this year. It's something. It's got to get done though, because I need it. Well, people, we started it off with a big, let's tell it like it is.
Right. Hey, it's life. It's life live. So you get, what better place to get a slice of real life than on a podcast called It's Life Live.
Yeah, so, it's real. It is absolutely real. And, sometimes you just need, I don't know if you want to call it a break or just a reset, mm-hmm. or just a little bit of different pace.
Yep.
It's necessary. I mean, that's
necessary.
That goes back to one of the areas that we talk about, relaxation and recreation and leisure. It's where you get to reset and balance things out a little bit and go like, okay, look, I need to check this, and that's exactly what that is. And
the mistake that many of us make, and the reason why I say many of us is because I make that mistake as well. The mistake that many of us make is that we don't actually give in to taking that time until it's a necessity. We don't actually build that component into our everyday routine, or whatever the cadence is, every week, every other day, whatever it is. We don't build a cadence that puts that element in our routine. We wait until, like I did yesterday, where my head is about to blow off. And I was like, listen, I have to do it at this point.
Yeah. That's the part of the balance of the putting it in there, making it. It's like working or going to the gym. Your body is not going to work on what you did with your body. The fact that you went to the gym last week, last month, or you did some working out, got physical activities, like it has to be a part of your routine. It really has to be a part of your routine.
Yeah.
And with it being a part of your routine, then it prevents you from waiting until the last minute to get the benefits of that which you really, really, really needed.
Mm-hmm.
So let's welcome everybody. Thank you, because I know we got started without welcoming people, but if you're here for the first time, welcome to Clear Journeys, It's Life Live. My name is Juan Lee. That's Oliver Marcell. We're here every Wednesday night on It's Life Live. Basically, Clear Journeys' mission is to be able to provide education and resources to those that are in need of answers to life's challenges. So that's why we're here. We're here to help you navigate and to manage this thing called life so that you can reach your full potential in all areas of life. I am an author of a book called Love Made Simple, which is the foundation of Clear Journey. It's a book about it's about the attitude and the mindset of love so that you might be able to put the right mindset into life. And love is the way in which we manifest that here at Clear Journey. Um, and it helps us navigate the 8 areas that we talk about at Clear Journey, which if you want to learn more about Clear Journey, go over to clearjourney.org and learn all about the areas. And there's some tips that can help you navigate life and all of its challenges is there for you. If you have not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe, hit the like button, and get in conversation with us. Let us know what's on your mind and be here with us and go through tonight's episode with you. We did have um, a guest tonight, but she had some conflict in her schedule and was unable to make it tonight. So we will reschedule her. So if you were coming and have intended to be here with her, Alita, Alethea
Yeah, Letha Tucker.
Tucker,
Hmm.
she will be with us. We have to reschedule, but it's probably not going to be until July. So look out for that. Um, if there is anything else before we get started, because what we're going to do tonight is we're going to put Oliver. It's going to be Relationship Wednesday, and that's Oliver's forte. That's what he wants to do, or that's what he does. Not wants to do, but that's what he does. So we're going to interject and going to go through the process of unpacking happiness and looking to see if it's essential in marriage.
Okay.
If it's essential in marriage, happiness. I think that
Happiness.
happiness, if that's essential to the success of a marriage.
Hmm. Okay. Let's
So,
dig into it.
so that's the premise. If you're on any of the platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, um, I think Oliver has a couple of those up, so you can comment and we will get any input back to you when it comes up. So we're here for you. So we're gonna let it roll. And Oliver, let's start with you. The title in and of itself. What do you think? Is happiness is happiness necessary um, for a successful marriage?
Is happiness essential? So the title says, "Is it essential for a successful marriage?" And
Mhm.
it's almost a trick question.
Well, okay, before you
And I'm
get there,
okay.
let's define happiness first.
Let's define happiness. Okay.
Let's define happiness first. What's your what is your definition? Because that's going to that's going to preclude everything, um, precede everything that's happening in your answer. What is your definition of happiness as it
So
pertains to marriage?
so if we go with the dictionary definition, dictionary definition of happiness is the state of being happy. So now we got to go to what is happy, right?
Hmm.
Happy is uh, a feeling or showing pleasure or contentment, having a sense of confidence in or satisfaction with, whether that be a person, an arrangement, a situation,
Hmm.
what have you. Um, Another definition is fortunate and convenient. So if we're going to go with if we go with having a sense of confidence or satisfaction in or feeling or showing pleasure or contentment in marriage, then is having confidence and satisfaction in your marriage and in your relationship and with your partner, is that essential? Yes. You should have some level of satisfaction. You should have some level of confidence in many different areas as it relates to your marriage. Should you have some pleasure? Yes. Should you have some contentment? Yes. So is it essential? It is essential. Now, I'm going to say this here and then we'll unpack it as we go through, because I'm sure you got some questions for me.
Mm-hmm.
Although it is essential, it is actually a byproduct of a healthy marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said it was a trick question, because if I'm happy, it does not necessarily guarantee that I will have a successful marriage. But if my marriage is healthy, my happiness is a byproduct of that.
Okay, because I was going to ask you whether or not healthy is a part of being successful.
I think that healthy is a part of being successful. I do not
Okay.
believe that your marriage can be unhealthy and successful. The two can't coexist. Your marriage can't be
Wow.
unhealthy and successful at the same time. If your marriage is
Wow.
if your marriage is unhealthy, it is not successful.
That based on that definition, I hear you. I hear you. So then what precedes each other then? What determines? So you're saying basically that if you are if you are un if you are healthy, if it's healthy, then it can be successful, but it can't be successful and unhealthy.
Cannot be successful and unhealthy. It can't be. The whole
Explain
the
that a little
whole
bit. Explain that a
okay.
little bit.
Okay. The whole point. So now we can like we can nitpick and talk about what is your definition of success. So if your definition of success is we both are millionaires, then I guess you don't have to be healthy. If your definition is, we both are famous on social media and everybody thinks we are a power couple, and that's your goal, and that's what success is in your marriage, then yeah, you could probably be successful and unhealthy. Let's talk about the people who want to live a fulfilling marital experience. They want to they want to see their love grow. They want to see their intimacy grow. They want to see their bond grow. Those individuals, if that is what successful marriage looks like to you, then you cannot be unhealthy and successful.
Well, okay, I would agree in theory,
Okay.
in theory.
Hmm.
And let me qualify it in theory. Because we didn't talk about the attitudes that govern relationships that I come from. And I come from love, and that aspect of there are four attitudes that are essential to relationships,
Okay.
and it is sacrifice,
Hmm.
caring, responsibility, and humility.
Hmm.
Okay, those are the four attitudes that need to be in play in the area of relationship. um and the reason being is because relationships are going to have such a um there's so much unknown in relationships.
Hmm.
And when you even have, like you said, you have the desire for those attributes of your marriage to exist, um that we don't always necessarily have what it takes for those attributes to exist.
Hmm.
We don't have the attributes to make
Hmm.
them exist. And in many cases, we don't even know we don't have those attributes to make them exist. So, like for instance, and that's why one of the things in that first question, it was interesting that I didn't bring up, and it says,
Hmm.
what is the definition of happiness for marriage and for an individual? And I
Hmm.
think that's the most critical part, is because individually, we're going to bring something totally, in many cases, we bring unknown knowns to the relationship.
Yeah. I dare say though that happiness is the same for someone who's married and for the individual. Let me tell you why I say that. Where I feel like where I feel like it gets cloudy is many of us base our happiness is predicated on outside factors. Whereas your happiness should not be, if we're really going to be technical, your happiness should not be predicated on outside factors.
Well, I'm gonna even go getting more detailed.
Hmm.
Happy is the resist of is the basically is a as a chance. Happiness is not something that you totally possess. You have the ability or capacity to possess, and especially when it affects when it involves somebody else.
Okay.
So the mere fact that we're using happiness is almost like a catchword, because happiness is a tricky thing, because if we're looking for happiness in our relationship,
Hmm.
there's a good possibility that you and we're not gonna get it. We're not gonna get it because it's gonna be dependent on somebody else to give it to me.
And so that is part of the reason why that's part of the reason why we feel like many of us feel like if things aren't going well in our relationship, that the thing that we say are is that we're not happy, right? Now, we don't have enough time to unpack this. This will last more than an hour if we really wanted to unpack this. But Aristotle says that happiness depends on ourselves.
I mean, if you want to go there, I mean, if you want to if you want to take it to bringing it on the inside, okay, when you're bringing it on the
So
inside.
right. So let's go with my marriage. I people who know me know I often use myself as an example, right? So my I believe that at this stage in my life that my marriage is healthy. It's not perfect, but it's healthy. Now, a byproduct of that healthy relationship is my contentment and my satisfaction. Now, if we go back to
Is
the
it dependent
definite,
upon it though?
well, hold on, I'm getting there in a second. It is a byproduct. So contentment and satisfaction are a byproduct of the fact that my relationship is in a healthy place right now, right? So if we look at the definition of happy, and in the definition that I read had the word satisfaction in there, it had the word contentment in there, it had the word pleasurable in there, right? Here's the mistake. The mistake that many of us make is, although it's a byproduct of my healthy relationship, it should not be dependent on my relationship. That's tough for a lot of us because it's tough. And listen, I know what I'm saying. It's tough to separate the two in the moment because I'm happy. Why am I happy? I'm happy because my wife loves me. I'm happy because my relationship is going well. I'm happy because we're not arguing and fussing and fighting. I'm happy because we're growing. We're in business together. I'm happy because all of these things are happening. But if I'm being honest, that happiness is a byproduct of all those things happening. Now, if none of those things were happening, that doesn't mean that there's no opportunity for me to be happy.
Okay, I'm gonna. Okay, now you've turned a whole nother corner because I was gonna go somewhere else with you, but you
No,
just
go
turned
no go
another
where
corner.
no go where you're going. Go where you're going
Well,
because it'll
the
it'll
reason
tie
I'm
in
being
probably.
the reason I'm saying this is because when you say that, where is the emphasis and the pursuit? Is the pursuit for happiness, or is there something else that, because you said your healthiness, is the healthiness the pursuit, or is happiness, because you're saying happiness is the results. So
Happiness
where's the
is a
pursuit?
byproduct.
Are you
So
what you're pursuing, and it's the pursuit is what gets you the happiness, not, you don't pursue happiness to get it.
no, no, no.
Okay, so
If
what's
you
the
pursue
pursuit?
happiness, if you pursue happiness in a marriage, you're gonna get disappointed.
And that's where I'm coming from.
You're
Okay,
gonna get disappointed
and that's where I'm
because
coming from.
because there is nothing, there is no outside entity that can guarantee sustainable happiness. None.
And
And
that's the
listen,
roller coaster that we go
right,
on.
those who are watching the replay, you can fight me on this, but I know what I'm saying. There is no outside entity that can give you sustainable happiness. So if you're chasing happiness in a particular thing or person, you're going to be disappointed because you'll get it, but you won't get it consistently. And the moment that that inconsistency drops in there, you're going to have second thoughts.
And
So
see,
the pursuit, and to answer your question, the pursuit in marriage has to be it has to be something that is beneficial to the whole and not to the individual. So oneness, for those of you who are church folk, you hear that word, you've heard that word, right? Oneness, that's something you can pursue. A healthy relationship is a very big umbrella. So underneath that umbrella could be a bunch of different things. Uh, extraordinary communication, uh, effective conflict management, holistic intimacy building and maintaining, bonding, whatever those things are, you're pursuing that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now, the beautiful thing about successfully pursuing that and catching it, so to speak, is that it helps to it helps to it's like throwing wood on the fire. So there should be something inside of you that is already fulfilled and that is already content and that is already pleasurable. The pursuit of those other things in your relationship is like throwing, when you catch those, it's like throwing wood on something that's already burning.
Mm-hmm.
If you waiting for that to spark the fire, it might spark it, but then the first wind of conflict that blows is going to blow it out.
And that's why my definition of happens chance. Happiness is a happens chance. It happens by chance, and it's unsustainable. It just happens by chance.
Mhm.
And what you were referring to is that thing you've heard me say sometimes, and it's oftentimes in reference to marriage. It's not what's right. It's not who's right. It's what's right.
Mhm.
And that's you're after. In my case, that's what I'm after. I'm
Right.
after what's right, not who's right. And
And
that
here's, go ahead, finish your thought.
no, no. I mean, and see, that's that entity, that thing that's
Hmm.
bigger than either.
Hmm.
And so, as a result of being able to, um, I'm in pursuit of that, of the
Hmm.
institution, the fulfillment of the institution. What does this institution represent? What does this institution do? What is its purpose? What is its meaning?
Hmm.
And so, and that mindset, I can, that happiness, if that is accomplished, that happiness is a byproduct.
Right. Right. And what you hope happens, right? If we were to give a perfect world, quote unquote, perfect world scenario, what you hope happens is that if we look at the definition of happy, and happy had the definition had these keywords in there: pleasure, contentment, confidence, satisfaction. If what you hope, right, satisfied with the quality or standard of something, What you would hope is that you already have these things inside of you. You already are pleasurable. You're already content. You're already confident. You're already satisfied. What that does now is motivate you to pursue the a healthy marriage, and there's various legs underneath that healthy marriage. That healthy marriage in turn fuels what you already have inside you, which then creates some level of motivation to remain consistent in your pursuit. So it creates this cyclical thing. But
Mm-hmm.
if you go into it and you don't have none of those things and you're waiting for the uh the results of your pursuit to create those things for you, that may happen. Like, I'm not going to say it won't happen. It may happen, but there's nothing in a marital journey that allows you to consistently feel that way, because the marital journey is full of ups and downs. So the moment you reach a down, there's nothing to fuel. There's no fuel. It's like throwing wood on grass
Water.
or water, right? It's not going to do anything, right? So that's, in a perfect world, that's really, as it relates to happiness, there are components of that should already be present, that would then motivate you to want to be a certain way and
Mm-hmm.
want to exhibit certain things that will be conducive to the successful health of your relationship.
Okay. All right. Let's move to the next one. Can a marriage be considered successful if one or both partners are not always happy? Why or why not?
Um, it depends
One
on what
or
you mean.
both?
It depends on what you mean by not always happy, because there are going to be times where you're not happy. So
Well,
does
but
that
that's what I'm
mean
saying. Can you be successful and not be
yes?
happy? And
Yes.
still
Now,
and go ahead.
now here's the caveat. The answer to that question at face value is yes, you can have a successful marriage if one or both people are not happy for some reason. Now, what we got to look at though is timeline. Now, if you're not happy, if you've been married for 20 years and you tell me you ain't been happy for 16 of them, we got a problem. But if you've been married for 20 years and you tell me there are pockets where, man, you know what, I wasn't really feeling this. I get that. And that's normal. And that's what we don't tell a lot of people. You ain't gonna be just happy go lucky, googly eyes, you know,
Well,
it don't work.
is that what happy is? To see, because this
Well,
is
I'm
why
not
I'm
saying that's
saying.
what happy is, but I'm just saying I'm just talking about just the outside bubble of some of these emotions. You're not going to feel that
All the time.
consistently
Yeah.
throughout your entire marital journey.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
if you say you are, you faking it. Because I guarantee you, as God is my witness, there is at least one day in your marital journey where you like, I ain't really feeling this guy,
I,
or
look,
I ain't really feeling this
look.
chick.
It ain't no day. If you ain't say year, it adds up to years.
Now
Because
we hope that we are building in a way that helps to minimize the amount of time that the times that those happen, but some of that is inevitable.
yeah, I mean, this is. I mean, we're gonna keep it at this level because
Hmm.
you've already seen we can get a little
Oh
deeper.
yeah, this
Uh,
can go. Yeah, this can
and,
go levels.
and so let's just keep it up there.
Hmm.
Um, what are some of the common misconceptions about happiness in marriage that might lead to unrealistic expectations?
That she's supposed to fulfill me.
Mm.
That's a common
And vice
misconception,
versa,
and
and
vice
vice
versa.
versa.
Yep. I'm gonna marry
And,
this woman. She's gonna be everything that you heard what I just said? Everything
mhm.
that I ever wanted. No, she ain't. She ain't gonna be everything you ever wanted.
I, yeah, hey,
She
hey,
she might be everything you want today. But if you talking about spending 50 years with this woman, there's gonna be some times where you like, right? So you cannot. That's a misconception. Like, and you hear that all the time. Like, I thought he was gonna be. Well, you shouldn't have thought that.
Bingo.
I thought she was gonna be. I just knew she was gonna. No, no, no. You shouldn't have knew nothing. You should have asked some questions and had some conversations and craft some
Hmm.
strategy around how you gonna navigate this.
Whoa, not prepared.
Yeah,
Not prepared.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. How does cultural and social and personal beliefs shape our understanding of happiness and its impact on our marriage in marriage?
Um, Unfortunately,
Mm.
all of those factors um,
How so?
play a big role. Culturally, I'll use myself as an example, right? So my parents are West Indian, and my parents are old school West Indian. They're not new school West Indian. So old school West Indian had a very different ideology as it relates to uh, what the marital journey looks like, right? So, and many folk that are my age that are of West Indian descent can tell you that there's certain things they probably never saw their parents do, right? They probably never saw their parents engage in some level of
PDA.
sexual intimacy, and I'm not talking about having sex. I'm talking about
PDA.
right. You
And
didn't see the
personal affection.
the public display of affection. Like you, there's
Hmm.
certain things you did not see with certain West Indian families, right? And so culture does play a role in how you view a whole lot of things. And happiness is one of them. Relationships, successful relationships, and how you navigate them is one of them. And then now you have social media. Social media is a gift and a curse. Social media, you can use social media to really gain some wisdom and some knowledge and some enhancements. And you can also get a lot of foolishness that actually ruins you. It also sets up this comparison trap that makes you feel like if what you are experiencing doesn't look like what somebody else is experiencing, you ain't as happy as they are. And that's a
Hmm.
problem. So yes, it is uh it does definitely in a very significant way um color how we our understanding or shape our beliefs around it.
What can you do? What can you do? Is it recognizable in marriage when you know that those things have indeed impacted the way in which you view it and then influence the way in which you operate in the marriage? How have you navigated that, for instance?
I think for a lot of people it's not recognizable until they hit a brick wall and realize, man, I probably didn't have to copy what I saw or listen to the sound bite that I heard or react to my situation based on something I saw while I was scrolling. Sometimes you don't recognize it until you actually have an issue that causes you to face it. But how we've navigated it is just little by little. The only thing you really can do is it's almost like the each one teach one kind of concept where you just have to rearrange the perspectives of the people that you are blessed to have within your grasp and pray that that ripple effect takes place. And what we really need is we need more people with influence to be more real about what this process looks like. We need the church to step up to the plate because the church doesn't talk about this at all. We need other entities like that have large levels of influence to start modeling what this looks like and start having conversations about how people can navigate this successfully and how they can build and craft strategy and to spend some significant time dispelling myths and misconceptions so that we can somehow turn this thing around.
Yeah, I mean, and you're absolutely right. And it starts with individual
Hmm.
recognition.
Hmm.
Because when you say cultural, that's a very difficult one to identify.
Yep.
That's a very difficult one to identify because it is ingrained in us.
Hmm.
It's basically who we are. And so to think that we're doing something inappropriately or not right, what's the alternative?
And you know what's crazy about the cultural piece? The cultural piece is interesting because even for those of us who recognize that there are some cultural things that we should probably steer clear of, because it is a part of our DNA, we still find ourselves doing, saying, being some of these very things, but just in our own more modern way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because it's not that easy to just be like, hey, this is what my father did, this is what my grandfather did, this is what my uncles did, this is what my brothers did. I ain't gonna do none of that. Okay, I'm with you and I support that. But I promise you there are gonna be little pockets where you like, man, that's something my dad would do. That's something my dad would say.
I would go even further than that and say that they're going to do exactly what their dad do and dads do. And here's the difference, but in a different way
Mm,
because of the time, the signs of the time, the way things, it's just going to be presented differently. It
mm,
goes back. It goes back to the old adage of the apple don't fall far from the tree.
mm,
You know,
mm,
it's almost unless it's intentional you're it's in you. It ain't like it's not like it's alternative. You got an alternative option here. It's like it's like you don't have a choice
mm,
until you get the make an intentional. Because here's the point: when we say I'm not going to do what they did, we're
mm.
talking about actions. We're
Quite
talking
often,
about
yes.
actions. We're not
Quite
talking
often we're
about
talking about
mindset.
actions.
We're not
Mm,
talking about mindset because we don't know the mindset that caused the action.
mm,
All we get is exposed to the action and say, okay, I'm not going to do that.
mm.
And that is not the response to make the content to make the change. It's the mindset that has to change. Because
And
now I want to be because here's the one. I'll be glad when I'm grown. I'll
mhm.
be glad when I'm grown. I ain't gotta listen to you. Okay. Now, does that make your way right because you're not listening to them? I'm not going to do it that way, but that doesn't mean that your way is going to be the right way.
Yeah.
And see, that's the battle that we in. Unless we're intentional to find some way of being able to measure what it is we're trying to accomplish,
Hmm.
we how does it go? Broad is the way to destruction.
And
There's
here's the
many
thing. It's
ways.
here's the thing too, and what a lot of people don't realize is that it you don't necessarily have to you don't success doesn't necessarily look like you completely changing your mindset. Success doesn't necessarily look like completely being devoid of negative cultural or social influences, societal influences. Success looks like this. Success looks like recognizing what's in you, identifying what of those things is not conducive to a successful marriage, and then being cognizant of when they attempt to rear their ugly head, that you redirect.
And that's conscious. That's a
Right.
consciousness that you have to acquire to be
That's a
able to
level of
recognize that.
right. That's a level of self-awareness that you should have. And many of us, what we try to do, and I was guilty of this in the beginning as well, we try to cold turkey this stuff. Well, I was A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I'm not going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G no more. Now I'm going to be H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And I keep, I, I'm, I'm just going to cold turkey cut off what was a part of me. No, no, no. That's not what success looks like. Are there people who can do that? Probably. But for the majority of us, we recognize A, B, C, D, E, F, G is ingrained in who we are. It's in our DNA. However, EFG is going to be detrimental to you having a successful relationship. So every time you see E, we're going to replace that with J. Every time we see F, we're going to replace that with I. And now when you see it, what makes you successful is the fact that you can recognize it, manage it, and recover from it in record time.
I'm,
Hence, allowing you to move forward with the success of your relationship.
I'm in a 100% agreement with you, and I'm gonna give it to you in a very unique, a very common way that we all have to deal with.
Mhm.
You said A, B, and C, the things that we do. It's like the food that we grew up on eating.
Mhm.
The food that we grew up on eating. It's not good for us.
Mhm. Mhm.
Not good for us. But that's what we are accustomed to. That's what we like. That's what it is. And for us to say that we're going to cold turkey and stop eating that stuff right away, unless there's going to be something that calls you to do that right away, you're going to have to do that thing gradually, because that's all you know. That's what your taste buds are. That's what it is. And you've got to find something to replace that before you can stop, before you will stop that, because you got to eat.
Mhm.
But the
Mhm.
fact is what you're saying, it transcends to all kinds of relationships, not only in
Mhm.
marital relationship, but the way we relate to food.
Mhm.
That's the first one that comes to mind with me. It's like the way we relate to food, because it is subconscious.
Yeah.
You know, we will buy a burger or some fries and some chicken in a minute. That's who we are. Now,
Yeah.
how do we know it's we and it look, how many times somebody tell you it's bad for you? Bad for you, bad for you. But guess what? Over time, over time,
Mhm.
that starts to eat at you, wear at you. And at certain point in time, it begins to show itself up on you in your life.
Mhm.
And the point is that until we decide to change that and make a conscious effort to do it, we're going to be subject to. So when you said that takes time, you can be
Mhm.
successful if you know what you need to do and then
Yeah.
pursue it. It's
And
a
then do it.
pursuit.
Yep. It's
So
certain there's just it's a day it's and for some folk, and we don't tell people this. We don't tell people when they get married that there's a learning curve. And we don't tell people that that learning curve could be ongoing. I'll give you a
that was
great example. I'll give you a
yeah.
great example. I am a shotgun communicator. What that simply means at its core is that I generally don't think before I say what I have to say. So, and as a shot, so if you think about a shotgun, if you shoot at somebody, once you pull the trigger, it's out. It ain't, you can't hurry up and grab the bullet and bring it back. And because it is a bullet, it's probably going to do damage because that's what bullets do. Right.
Wow.
So now that I know that about myself and speak to culture, that is my mother. That is my uncles. 0 to 100 in 2 seconds. That is in my DNA, right? So now that I know that, I have to be cognizant about the way that I speak to my wife. I have to be cognizant of the things that would generally cause me to go from 0 to 100 and not think first. And then I have to now put something in its place, or I have to have a strategy so that when I hear this or feel this or am triggered, I don't really like that word, but when something happens and it would normally set me on a certain course, I've gotten to this point in my life now where I recognize it immediately and I can redirect. I'll probably be doing that for the rest of my life.
Well, I mean, but see, but now, do you still identify with that title though? With that consciousness?
I do because I am that guy. Like outside of my marriage, it is it's very the chances are great for me to shoot off something. Now I've grown to the point where again where I recognize certain things, where I am able to uh institute some level of replacement therapy, if you will. There's some cognitive stuff that happens now because I'm I am intentional about learning how to manage it differently. But at the core, that's how I communicate. And it's not even so much that it's a bad way to communicate. It's just that it's not always appropriate. And I come
Well,
from a family where appropriate didn't mean nothing.
well, okay. Let's define when you say shotgun, bullet,
Hmm.
destroy,
Hmm.
appropriate. When is it? When is that appropriate? I
So,
mean, and I'm not questioning, but
no, no,
I'm
no.
just trying to put
That's a
the
good question.
analogy together.
That's a good question. So there are some times where I have to be very assertive, and that assertiveness sometimes, depending on tone, depending on, it's not always that it does damage, but you always have to be, and this is what I was not taught how to do. You always have to be cognizant of how the person receives whatever you're sending. So what you're sending may be right on time. The assertion needs to be there. The urgency needs to be in place. The tone needs to be one that shows evidence of this is this sense of urgency. But my delivery might not be right, or my body language might not be right. My nonverbals may not be right. My tone may be a little bit more elevated than it should be. So these are little things, right? That I may mean well, but you may take it the wrong way. And so
But are
now,
those are those emotions or are those characteristics? I mean, are those emotions that are in the moment versus because when you said, and I'm ahead, and this is not about you.
mhm,
This is more so the understanding of the concept of a of a of a cultural experience that
mhm,
can we overcome those with intentionality? Because I want to be
you can.
clear when what you're saying is that the motivation is what is drive you to overcome certain situations versus others.
I think you can overcome it. When we teach about communication styles, we often tell couples that the goal is not necessarily for you to label or categorize a communication style as right or wrong, or to necessarily change your communication style. The goal is to identify what your style is, identify what your mate style is, and then put a plan in place to make sure that those styles work well together. Now, what that may cause you to have to do is make some adjustments. So for me, I give real world example. So in the beginning, in the beginning of our marriage, my wife and I, if we had a disagreement, I would just say whatever is the first thing that came to my mind. And it's not that I was trying to be mean or nasty. It's just I process on the fly, and she does not. So because she does not process on the fly, me just opening my mouth and just boom, 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 that's too much for her. So it's not so much that I'm causing damage, it's just that she doesn't receive information that way, nor does she
Mm.
process on the fly. So now I have to be cognizant of that. She needs extra time to process. Let me take a step back, forego what my knee-jerk reaction might be. And this is why you got to take time to learn your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
For me, particular in my particular situation,
Mm-hmm.
it works well for me to, instead of shooting something out, because I'm thinking as I'm going, as I'm talking, I'm building the plane as we're flying. Basically, that's how I communicate. She doesn't communicate that way. So now I have to step back and be like, hold on, let's build this plane on the ground. Let me start out with asking some questions. Let me start out with giving her something to think about and ponder, and letting her guide, navigate, or create the maze, if you will, that our conversation will travel through. So it's not necessarily that I'm changing my style, but I do have to adjust in order to make sure that my communication is effective.
And that's the whole objective.
Mhm.
The objective is to communicate, not necessarily. And that's why I'm saying the dynamics of relationship, it requires, I mean, to say that the motivation to change, if you're not if you're married and you're not motivated to change, that's a big issue. That's a big issue
Mhm.
because change is, I believe, is inevitable.
Mhm.
Because if you're remaining the same, if you're staying the same place, that means that not only are you individually not growing, but you collectively are not growing.
Mhm.
And so that mind, that ability to look at that and go, um, Am I changed? Yeah, I'm looking at 27 years, 28. Yeah, I've changed. I've
Oh yeah,
changed,
yeah.
and I haven't,
You're gonna change.
and it's been intentional. It's
Hmm.
been intentional because the objective is to like you said, it's not to build the airplane as we flying, but if it means that the only way we can build the airplane is that we got to build it on the ground.
Hmm.
So my ability to build in the sky is irrelevant because I cannot build it without her.
Hmm.
I don't care. I don't care how quick and fast I'm doing it. I can't build it without her.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes that change is not necessarily like change from black to white kind of change. Sometimes that change is just some things that you actually recognize about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that recognition causes you to adjust your approach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes change from black to white is necessary. Sometimes it's just about my approach. So I used to come from the left and I realized that's probably not the best way to come. I'm still trying to get over there, but my approach now has to be different. I got to come from the right.
Well,
So
but I
it's
mean,
so
is it?
sometimes it's an adjustment.
Yeah, but okay, adjustment, change.
Mhm.
I, I think it's synonymous. I mean, there's semantics there because the adjustment is going to be in the pursuit of the outcome
Mhm.
and not the means in which you're trying to get there. It's sort of like,
Mhm.
how do you get downtown? There's 100 ways to get downtown. Okay.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that if we want to go down there together, we got to come together and then
Mhm.
be willing to go the same way, because us getting there at different times, at different, different way, that's not going to serve us in that relation, in the relationship, is to be
Mhm.
going your way and I go my way.
I think it
We,
goes back it goes back to the happiness piece too, because these changes and adjustments should not necessarily just be for the the goal of your relationship success. Quite often I tell couples this and they look at me kind of crazy when I first say it because I say it for shock value, because for what I come with afterward. Often when couples are sitting in front of us, I often tell them, listen, a lot of what you're doing right now ain't about you restoring your relationship, your marriage. And they look at me like, well, what are we doing here? Why are we here? Like, I know what that sounds like, but the truth of the matter is, regardless of what happens in your marriage, you should be doing this anyway. You should be learning about yourself. You should be looking inward. You should be evaluating how you do certain things, how you communicate, how you manage conflict. What kind of person are you? What are your ideologies around all of these things? Because no matter whether your relationship thrives or dies, you still got to grow. So for me, with the communication thing in the beginning, and I talk about this in the book, in the beginning, I spent a significant amount of time trying to change my behavior and adjust my behavior for the sake of seeing some success in my marriage. That's not sustainable long term, because the moment she upsets me or I don't feel like something went right or I did all this work and I didn't get the result I thought I was supposed to get, now I'm backpedaling, as opposed to me adjusting how I think about certain things and listening more and being cognizant of how people receive what I say, and all of these things that are very self development, self awareness, self actualization type things that I'm doing for the betterment of me. And guess what benefits organically?
yeah, yeah,
My
your
marriage.
relationship, yeah. And
Exactly.
see it, and that's exactly what you said earlier when you were talking about boy, I just pulled a blank. When you were talking, oh boy, blank, 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 blank. Um, but it was that ability for it to be organic. But when you're doing it yourself, on
Hmm.
yourself,
Hmm.
everything else becomes a byproduct.
Yeah.
Nothing, everything. When you start with self, everything else becomes a byproduct. Everything else begins
Hmm.
to fall. And here's the point: the end result is you wanting to grow,
Hmm.
and the relationship is a byproduct of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I jokingly said in the beginning that the question is happiness essential for a successful marriage is kind of a trick question
Hmm.
because you should really be you should really be pursuing happiness within. Like
Hmm.
you should bring some level of, and I'm gonna go back to the words that were in the definition. You should be bringing some level of pleasure, some level of contentment, some level of satisfaction,
Hmm.
some level of confidence to this scenario. So is it
Yep.
essential? Yeah, it might be essential, but it's not essential in the sense that you're gonna get into this relationship and obtain those things. You should get into this relationship with those things, and it will help you create something that helps to fuel those things that you already have.
Yeah. And I think what you're basically saying in a nutshell is that when we start on self first,
Hmm.
and understand that we have many types of relationships that we're going to engage, not only our intimate relationships but our social and the professional relationships. It will come out in those relationships who you are, who
Hmm.
we are, who I
Hmm.
am will come out. And the better we are prepared, the better we are um, able
Hmm.
to facilitate that degree of happiness around us, because it starts in this context on the inside of each one of us.
Yeah. And here's the thing: if you build in that way, then a wonderful byproduct of building that way is this: in the moments where one person may not be feeling their best, or one person may not, they may have a slump in their confidence, or their satisfaction level may not be the greatest on this particular day or this particular time frame. Things may not be pleasurable, right? The beauty of building that way is that in those moments you're able to draw from the the relationship that you've built. It's like putting money in a bank, right? You continually putting money in, and then the day one day you need $10 is there. And so that's the beauty of that. So because you're not going to always be happy, you're not going to always be pleasurable, you're not going to be 100% satisfied, you're not going to be 100% confident every time, but because you have brought that to the table and you've invested that and you've deposited that and you've used that to help build a conglomerate of those types of things, on the days when you ain't really feeling like that, she going to have your back and vice versa.
And that's what it's all about. That's where the idea of a team comes together.
Hmm.
Everybody has their position, their part, and everybody's not going to play up to their necessarily their capacity or their capability all the time. But
Hmm.
in a team, you got people that can pulled up that the slack, pull the slack where it's needed.
Hmm.
Before we go, what is the strategies? What strategies can couples use to cultivate happiness even during challenges and times in their marriages? What's a tip you can give?
Well, I'll say this: building intimacy is is paramount to the success of your marriage. And and when I say intimacy, sometimes people go immediately to the bedroom. I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about holistic intimacy, and we we won't get into this, but there's so many different types of intimacy: intellectual, physical, that doesn't include sex, spiritual, um, emotional, The list goes on and on, right? A strategy for really uh, navigating this thing in a good way is to be intentional about building intimacy holistically. One area that I always encourage couples to do is build in the area of experiential intimacy, which is exactly what it sounds like: creating experiences that allow your intimacy and your bond to grow and be strengthened. And what couples tend to see is that as they create these experiences, that all the other intimacies grow organically, because experiential intimacy only requires two things: one, that you be in the same place, and two, that you have a common goal. So let's give a very simple example: cooking a meal together. You're both in the kitchen, so you're both in the same place. Common goal: you want to eat. You're making a meal, right? As you do those things, you begin to see other areas grow. You begin to see conversation grow. You begin to see vulnerability grow. You begin to see physical proximity grow. You begin to see intellectual intimacy grow. You're having more engaging conversations. You're asking more questions. You're listening more to people's hearts, and it just that's a strategy, I would say. There are many, but grow your bond, right? So think about it like this, and this is the last thing I'll say. Think about it like this. If you want to put 300 bricks on top of this table, you would not start out by putting 300 bricks on this table and then try to figure out if the table's strong enough. You would first be like, oh, let me look at this. Is this strong enough? Do we need to reinforce this? Do we need to put some leg? Do we need to, and build the bond, build the foundation that everything can stand on? Building your bond is the thing that will help undergird all the phases and stages of your life.
Good word. That's good. Good word. Good. Um, that being said, the advice you've given, and there's more of that where that came from. Let Oliver, let the people know where and how they can get in touch with you and learn more about what you have to offer in their
Absolutely.
relationship.
Absolutely. That, yeah, as you can probably hear in my tone, I'm very passionate about seeing relationships thrive. If you're a social media person, the social media handle is right there, Denali LLC, everywhere. You can look us up. Preferably YouTube. I mean, you can look us up everywhere. Preferably YouTube and TikTok. You will find a plethora of information. I mean, a ton of information. Author, speaker, and coach in the relationship building and men's enrichment spaces, author of the book Overcoming the Man Laws for the Man Who Wants to Be His Best Despite What He Was Taught. So through several mediums, through the coaching medium, through the speaking medium, through social media, we are sharing our journey in hopes that it will encourage and inspire you on your journey. So if you want to build and maintain the relationship of your dreams, let's have a conversation and see how we can serve you.
All
One more
right.
thing. If you're an email person, because some people are not social media person, if you're an email person, there's an email on the screen that you can email us as well.
Cool, cool, cool. Yes, and by all means, people reach out. Oliver is one of our strategic partners, so by all means, um, reach out to him and see your relationship flourish. Um, if you would like to know more about Clear Journey and what we do, go over to clearjourney.org. We talk about this is the relationship area is one of 8 areas that we help you navigate through life and being more successful. And what we do is we bring experts on this particular platform so that they can be able to help you navigate those areas. But those areas in general, all of them are over on clearjourney.org, where you can find more information about them there. In addition, one of the areas that we deal with is finances. And that, I believe, is one of the foundations. We didn't get to how finances play a part in relationships, but
Oh,
they play a major part in the relationship stability of it. and
yes,
so
they do.
and so what we do is we have an ebook over at clearjourney.org. You go over there and pick up the ebook. It's about budgeting, and budgeting is the way to reach your goals. Also, it's the way that you're able to have a healthy, strong relationship, because when you have a strong understanding of your finances, man, that is one big hurdle that you can don't have to deal with inside of the relationship. And this also goes back to what Oliver was talking about. If you have your finances together before you get into a relationship, then that helps you as you're entering into a relationship. It's going to be difficult if you don't have your finances in order and getting into a relationship, and neither one of you got your finances in order. It's gonna put another issue in the pot that you would not otherwise have to deal with if it was already together. But go there, pick up that book. It's an ebook. It's there. And also, if you can, pick up and support us by picking up a copy of my Love Made Simple, The Guide to Inner Peace, Contentment, and Success. It's on Audible and it's on Amazon. You can pick that up, and any of these things will help allow us to continue to support Clear Journey and its mission to help you navigate life more successfully. Oliver, do you have any other things to say, to share before we go?
No, I think that's it. I mean, this is a topic that, I can talk for the next year about. we could do a live telecast. What's those things they used to do? Those what they call them? Telethons.
Oh yeah,
We could
yeah,
do a live telethon talking about relationships. But listen, what I would say is just be intentional. Be intentional. Really, really take some time to discover and identify what it is that you want to experience in your relationship. What do the two of you want to experience? And write that down, and then figure out ways to reverse engineer to get to that. And part of that, be understand that part of that is going to be things that you specifically do. It's not just going to be a laundry list that you have for the other person. It's going to be some things that you are going to have to do, some adjustments you're going to have to make, some things you're going to have to develop within yourself in order to see that through.
yeah. We're the only one that can make change in our lives. We have to be the author of the change in our lives. So yeah. Um, that's absolutely great. And you know what? I think we might do this once a month. You know, just drop, because this is very vital. I mean, it's an important thing, as it relates to how we um relate to one another.
Mhm. Yeah.
In so many ways, that's essential to this experience called life. Is how we relate to one another. So there are many different aspects that we could possibly address
Mhm.
under this the topic of relationships. So let's think about doing that once a month. Um, that being said, if like I said, I appreciate you all being with us tonight. It's not something that we take lightly that you've spent an hour and 10 minutes with us. We do appreciate it. And by all means, let other people know about it. Bring more people on so that we can have more in the community. And as always, we can't help you. We cannot change life for you. But what we can do is help you navigate it. And until next week, we'll see you then so we can help you navigate this thing called life. We'll see you then.
Later.